Imagine this. You're standing in the middle of your life, working, trying, pushing, yet somehow money still feels like sand slipping through your fingers. You work harder, but nothing changes. You plan smarter, but the numbers don't move. You do everything you were told and still feel like you're missing something. Here's the truth. Most people never hear in time. Wealth is not built on effort. It is built on rules. Rules that the rich follow quietly. Rules that schools never teach. Rules hidden beneath the noise of work harder. Be grateful. Wait your turn. But tonight, everything changes. Because you're about to step into a different world. A world where money is no longer a mystery. Where wealth is not an accident. And where your financial life is shaped by intention, not luck. Wealthy people do not hope to get rich. They build wealth the way architects build skyscrapers, with foundations, frameworks, and unbreakable principles. And those principles are what you're about to learn, not as harsh commands, not as loud hype, but as a quiet blueprint, a calm, powerful path you can follow in your own way, at your own pace. Tonight, you're not just listening to rules. You're rewiring your relationship with money. You're learning how wealth behaves. You're learning how to think, act, decide, and grow like someone who will never worry about money again. So, inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. Let your mind open. Because these are the 24 rules of money, rewritten for clarity, wisdom, and the person you are becoming. Your new financial life begins now. Money is not emotional. It doesn't reward effort. It doesn't respond to how tired you are, how long you've tried, or how badly you want your life to change. Money follows one thing, and one thing only: value. And value, in its simplest form, is the ability to solve meaningful problems for other people. This is the first rule of money, and the foundation of everything that follows. Once you understand it, you'll never look at work, opportunity, or wealth the same way again. The truth, most people miss. Most people grow up believing money is tied to hard work. They're taught to grind, push, sacrifice, outwork everyone else, and maybe, eventually, they'll be rewarded. But look around. Some of the hardest working people in the world struggle financially. Some work multiple jobs and still fight to stay afloat. Others hustle endlessly yet stay stuck in place. Meanwhile, some people seem to rise effortlessly. They earn more with less stress. They build wealth while others burn out. They play a different game, a game based on understanding value, not effort, because the world doesn't pay for sweat. It pays for solutions. Value is the engine of wealth. Every dollar you've ever spent, every product you've ever bought, every service you've ever used, it all had one purpose: to solve a problem in your life. Your morning coffee solves fatigue. Your car solves distance. Your phone solves communication. A good book solves confusion, loneliness, boredom, or curiosity. When you see money through this lens, everything becomes clearer. If you want more money, you must create more value. If you want exponential money, you must create exponential value. It's not about being busy. It's about being useful. Not about hours worked, but problems solved. The size of the problem determines the size of the paycheck. A surgeon gets paid more than a barista, not because the surgeon is better, but because the problem they solve is bigger and the cost of not solving it is higher. A software engineer earns more than someone sweeping floors, not because of effort, but because the problem they're addressing impacts millions, not just a single room. A business owner can earn in a week what some earn in a year, not because they're lucky, but because they're solving problems at scale. The formula is simple: the greater the problem, the more people who have it, and the more desperate they are for a solution, the more money flows toward the one who solves it. This is why wealth isn't linear. It scales. When you solve bigger problems for more people, money multiplies. The difference between work and worth. So many people confuse movement with progress. They stay busy, thinking busy means valuable. But busy work rarely builds wealth. Filling out forms is work. Replying to emails is work. Clocking 8 hours is work. But it's not necessarily valuable work. The people who rise, who earn more, who unlock freedom, are the ones who stop asking, "How long will this take?" and start asking, "How much value does this create?" When you shift your mindset from time to value, everything changes. You break free from trading hours for dollars. You stop trying to work harder and start trying to work smarter. You begin to see opportunities you never noticed before. You don't need a new idea, just a better one. People often think creating value means inventing something revolutionary. But most wealth is built by improving what already exists. Faster delivery, better clarity, more convenience, better communication, less friction. Small upgrades create massive value. Think about Uber. They didn't invent cars or drivers. They simply solved a common problem: waiting, uncertainty, inconvenience in a better way. Think about Airbnb. People already rented rooms and homes. Airbnb removed the friction, added trust, and made the process seamless. Most wealth is built from ordinary ideas done in extraordinary ways. The market always tells you the truth. Many people fall into a trap. They build what they want, not what the market wants. Then they wonder why nobody buys. Your passion matters. Your dreams matter. But money doesn't flow because you love something. Money flows because others need something. The key is finding where your passion intersects with other people's problems, where what you enjoy doing becomes something others are willing to pay for. The market doesn't lie. If people buy, the value is clear. If they don't, it's not their fault. It's a signal to adjust, to refine, to listen, to solve better. Your wealth begins with one question. If money follows value, and value is solving problems, then your path to wealth begins with a single question. What problem can I solve better than anyone else around me? Maybe it's a skill you already have. Maybe it's something you can learn. Maybe it's something simple. Maybe it's something massive. But the moment you can answer that question, your entire financial future changes. Because now, instead of chasing money, you're attracting it. Instead of forcing hard work to pay off, you're letting value do the heavy lifting. Instead of hoping for opportunity, you're creating it. A calm reminder. You don't need to solve the world's biggest problem. You don't need to be a genius. You don't need to be first. You just need to be valuable consistently, thoughtfully, intentionally. Money is not mysterious. Money is not magical. Money is not emotional. Money is a mirror that reflects the value you create. And when you understand that, when you begin living by the law of value, you step into a different financial reality, one where wealth responds to you, grows with you, and expands because of you. This is where your journey begins. Most people lose the money game for one simple reason: they are playing too fast. They want the house now. The lifestyle now, the success now, the upgrades now. They want the feeling of wealth long before they've built the foundation for wealth. And because they move fast, they stay broke. This is the paradox of money. The wealth you want tomorrow is built by the patience you practice today. This is the law of long-term wealth, a quiet rule, a slow rule, a rule almost nobody respects, yet it is the one rule that separates the wealthy from everyone else. The illusion of immediate rewards. We live in a world built for impatience. One-day delivery, instant notification, quick entertainment, fast dopamine hits. The modern world trains your mind to expect results now, and anything slower feels like failure. But wealth has a different rhythm. It moves like nature, slow to start, quiet in growth, unstoppable in time. Money grows like a tree, invisible at first, inévitable later, but most people uproot their financial seeds before they ever have a chance to sprout. Compounding, the silent giant. Compounding is the eighth wonder of the world, not because it is complicated, but because it is invisible until suddenly it's undeniable. Compounding is what turns $1,000 into $100,000. $10 saved daily into a future. You can retire on small habits into big transformations. But here's the secret. Most people ignore. Compounding doesn't reward intensity. It rewards consistency. It doesn't matter how fast you run for a week. It matters how steadily you walk for a decade. Wealth isn't built by occasional discipline. It's built by repeated discipline, the kind nobody sees, nobody praises, nobody applauds. That's why patience is so rare, and why wealth is so rare. The invisible years that everyone misunderstands. Every wealth-building journey has what I call invisible years. The years where nothing seems to be happening. The numbers don't move. The growth is microscopic. Your progress feels stuck. These years test you. These years shape you. These years separate dreamers from builders. Invisible years are not a sign to quit. They're a sign you're becoming the kind of person who can sustain wealth. Anyone can save when it's exciting. Anyone can invest during good months. Anyone can be disciplined when they feel motivated. But the wealthy remain consistent during the invisible years because they understand that delayed growth is not dead growth. Growth is happening beneath the surface, just like a seed in the soil. Your wealth is rooting itself deeper before rising higher. Lifestyle creep, the silent wealth killer. Most people don't lose wealth through bad decisions. They lose it through small upgrades that never stop. A nicer car, a slightly bigger apartment, another subscription, a pricey dinner that isn't a big deal. None of these choices ruin you, but the pattern does. Every dollar you raise your lifestyle is a dollar removed from your future freedom. And once you raise your lifestyle, you adapt quickly. Your new standard becomes your new normal. Suddenly, anything below that level feels like deprivation, even if you lived comfortably with less before. This is how people trap themselves. They build a life that requires their full income to maintain, instead of building a life that produces income and freedom. The wealthy reverse this. They expand slowly. They grow lifestyle after the foundation is secure, not before. They understand a simple lifestyle early creates an abundant lifestyle later. Patience is a position of power when you can wait. You are powerful. You're not rushed. You're not disparity. You're not making emotional money decisions. Impatient people pay more interest, more fees, more penalties, more stress. Patient people pay less and earn more. They wait for sales. They negotiate from strength. They invest when others panic. They buy assets when they're cheap. They don't chase quick wins. They let time multiply value for them. The ability to wait is not just a financial skill, it is a psychological advantage. The market rewards those who can delay gratification. Opportunities reveal themselves to those who are not rushing. Luck seems to find those who are prepared and patient. The quiet confidence of long-term thinking. There is a confidence that comes from long-term thinking, a calmness, a peace, a steady undercurrent that whispers, you don't need everything now. You're building something that lasts. This is the kind of confidence wealthy people carry. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It's not forced. It shows up in small decisions, choosing to invest instead of impulsively spending, driving a reliable car instead of upgrading too soon, cooking at home when you could eat out, reading instead of always being entertained, choosing growth over gratification. These choices look ordinary, but they build extraordinary futures. The moment everything changes, your financial life begins to shift the moment you start asking a different question. Not what can this money buy right now, but what can this money become over time? Every dollar you don't spend today becomes a seed. Every seed becomes a tree. Every tree grows fruit. And the fruit feeds you for the rest of your life. This is why the wealthy seem lucky. Their seeds were planted long before the world noticed. Their roots were growing in the invisible years. And their forest appears suddenly, but it wasn't sudden at all. A calm, powerful reminder. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not too old or too young. You are right on time if you start today. Wealth doesn't require brilliance. It requires patience. It requires consistency. It requires the quiet courage to choose tomorrow over today. Because in the long run, the person who can wait will always outrun the person who can't. This is the law of long-term wealth win, slow to win forever. Most people believe wealth comes from big, dramatic moves, a once-in-a-lifetime idea, a perfect opportunity, a bold leap that changes everything overnight. But real wealth rarely works that way. Real wealth is built quietly, gradually, through small actions that compound into extraordinary results over time. This is the law of micro actions, tiny steps, taken consistently, create massive transformation. The myth of the big break. People wait for the right moment, the perfect job, the perfect idea, the perfect time to start saving, the perfect version of themselves that finally feels ready. But waiting ruins more dreams than failure ever will. And while most people wait, the wealthy begin not with perfection, but with something small, something manageable, something repeatable. They don't ask, how do I become wealthy fast? They ask, what small step can I take today that makes me wealthier tomorrow? It's not dramatic. It's not exciting. And that's exactly why it works. Small actions build identity. The real purpose of micro-actions isn't money. It's identity. When you save $10, you're not just saving $10, you're becoming someone who saves. When you read one page, you're not just reading, you're becoming someone who grows. When you learn one new skill each month, you're not just learning, you're becoming someone who becomes more valuable every year. Identity shapes destiny, and identity is built through repetition. The wealthiest people don't rely on motivation. They rely on identity. They do small actions daily because that's simply who they are. The compounding of habits. Habits compound just like money. 1 hour of learning each day becomes a new job. One skill each month becomes a new income stream. One small improvement at work every week becomes a promotion. one consistent act of discipline becomes a new financial reality. It's not about the size of the action, it's about the consistency of the pattern. The person who saves $1 every day will save more than the person who keeps planning to save a lot later. The person who learns 10 minutes a day will surpass the person who buys a course and never opens it. The person who acts, even when the action is small, outpaces the person who dreams big but moves rarely. Small actions remove excuses. Small actions remove fear. Small actions remove the need for perfection. And they replace all of that with something infinitely more powerful: progress. Why small steps are easier to sustain. The human brain loves small wins. They feel achievable. They feel manageable. They feel safe. That safety creates momentum. Try to change everything at once, and your mind will resist. Try to change just one small thing, and your mind will allow it. This is why diets fail, but small daily nutrition tweaks succeed. Why major life overhauls usually collapse, but gradual self-improvement sticks. Why financial shock changes rarely last, but small saving habits do. Wealth is not built on intensity. It is built on sustainability. 10 minutes a day beats 3 hours once a month. One small improvement beats a dozen abandoned goals. The no excuse system. The beauty of micro actions is simple. You can start no matter where you are. You don't need an extra $1,000. You need $1. You don't need 2 hours to read. You need 2 minutes. You don't need to change careers today. You need to learn one tiny skill that nudges you forward. Micro actions destroy the most common excuses. I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't have the perfect plan. I'm not ready. You don't need readiness. You need movement. Movement creates clarity. Movement creates confidence. Movement creates opportunity. Even the smallest movement is infinitely more powerful than standing still. Invisible progress becomes visible suddenly, at first. Your micro actions won't feel like much. Your savings will look small. Your skills will feel basic. Your progress will be quiet. But that's how transformation always begins, silently. Then one day, it all clicks. You understand something deeply you once struggled with. Your savings start to grow faster. Your skills stack on top of each other. Your opportunities multiply. People start saying things like, "You're so lucky. You changed so fast. How did you get so good at this? How did you grow so quickly?" But you'll know the truth. Nothing was fast. Nothing was instant. Nothing was luck. It was micro actions compounded quietly until they became impossible to ignore. From small steps to new realities. Do not underestimate the power of simple actions like saving the first $5, reading the first book, taking the first online lesson, writing the first paragraph, sending the first email, saying no to the first unnecessary purchase. Because once you take the first step, you have broken the pattern. Once you break the pattern, you have changed the trajectory. And once you change the trajectory, your future is already different. The question that changes everything. If you want to transform your financial life, don't ask, "How do I change everything?" Ask, "What is the smallest step I can take today that moves me forward?" Then take that step. And take another tomorrow. And another the next day. Your steps don't need to be big. They need to be consistent. Because consistent small steps create unstoppable results. When you embrace micro actions, you stop chasing miracles and start building them. Most people live with a quiet, constant fear. They never say out loud, "If I lose my job, my entire life collapses." On a paycheck, one employer, One source of income keeping everything afloat. It feels normal because almost everyone lives this way. But normal doesn't mean safe. And normal doesn't mean wealthy. This chapter is about the rule that keeps the rich stable through recessions, layoffs, market crashes, and unexpected storms. Never depend on a single stream of income. Build multiple streams that support, protect, and expand your financial life. Why one stream is a trap. Imagine a table with one leg. It doesn't matter how strong that leg is. The table is fragile. One unexpected push, and everything tips over. That's what a single income stream is. Fragile stability. A layoff. A medical bill. A shift in the economy. And suddenly your entire financial world becomes unstable. But add a second leg. Then a third. Then a fourth. What was once fragile becomes solid. The wealthy understand this intuitively. They build tables, not sticks. They don't just earn money, they design how money flows into their lives. The emotional freedom of diversified income. Multiple streams aren't just about money. They're about peace. They're about confidence. They're about knowing if one stream slows, the others keep me safe. You negotiate differently when you're not desperate. You take better opportunities because you're not afraid. You make smarter choices because your survival doesn't depend on one source. This is why multiple streams create more wealth, not just financially, but mentally and emotionally. The first mistake most people make. Most people never build multiple income streams for one reason. They imagine it means working 5 jobs or starting 10 businesses. It doesn't. Multiple streams don't require constant labor. They require smart architecture. Some streams are active. Some are semi-passive. Some are fully passive. But all of them support each other. You don't need 10 streams at once. You need one additional stream to start shifting your entire financial trajectory. Just one extra flow changes everything. The modern era has made income streams easier than ever. There was a time when building multiple streams required heavy capital, complex logistics, or specialized knowledge. Not anymore. Today, your laptop is a business. Your skills are a business. Your creativity is a business. Your time, your knowledge, your voice, your organization, your expertise, all of them can be turned into streams of income. A few examples: freelance skills writing, editing, design, video, tutoring, digital products, ebooks, templates, guides. Online courses teach what you know once. Earn repeatedly. Dividend investing small. Consistent contributions that pay quarterly. Content creation YouTube. Podcasts. Newsletters. Rental income, spare rooms. Vehicles. Equipment. Part-time consulting, use your career expertise to guide others. Automation tools, let software sell. Schedule. Respond. And deliver for you. You don't need to master all of these. You need to choose one that fits your strengths and start small. The mindset shift. From employee to architect. Employees depend on one stream. Wealth builders design multiple streams. This shift is subtle but powerful. Employees ask, "How do I keep my job?" Wealth builders ask, "How do I build systems that pay me whether I'm working or not?" Employees ask, "How do I earn this month?" Wealth builders ask, "What can I create once that pays me for months or years?" Employees think about salary. Wealth builders think about structure. The wealthy don't see income as a single faucet. They see it as a network of pipes they can expand over time. Start small. Build fast. Your first stream won't make much. Maybe $20 a week. Maybe $50 a month. Maybe less. But that small stream isn't about the amount. It's about breaking the pattern. It's about proving to yourself that you can create money in more than one way. Once you build one stream, you understand the process. You gain confidence. You gain ideas. You gain momentum. Then you add a second. Then a third. Some streams dry up, others explode. But together, they create something powerful: financial stability through diversity. The real gift of multiple streams. When you build multiple streams, you gain something deeper than money. Options. Options to say no. Options to take risks. Options to leave toxic environments. Options to negotiate from strength. Options to choose what aligns with your values, not your survival. Most people live in financial cages they cannot see. Multiple streams are the keys that unlock the door. The architecture of a wealthy life. A wealthy life is not built on one giant stream. It's built on layers. Layer 1, your main job or business. Layer 2, Ampere's skill-based income stream. Layer 3, Ampere's digital or scalable stream. Layer 4, an investment-based stream. Layer 5, Ampere's long-term passive stream. Layer 6, Ampere's creativity-driven stream. Not all at once. Not overnight. Brick by brick. Stream by stream. A slow to deliberate architecture that makes your financial life unshakable. A gentle push forward. You don't need to quit your job. You don't need a perfect idea. You don't need a massive plan. You need one question. What is one additional way I can create income in the next 30 days? It might be small. It might be simple. It might be humble. But it will shift your identity forever. Because the moment you build your second stream of income, you're no longer just an employee. You're an architect of wealth. And architects don't panic when one door closes. They simply open another. There are two kinds of people who stay broke forever: those who fear every risk and those who chase every risk. One hides from opportunity. The other runs blindly into danger. Both lows. Wealth requires a different kind of courage, the courage to take risks, but the wisdom to take them intelligently. This is the law of smart risks. Don't avoid risk. Don't worship risk. Understand it. Calculate it. Use it. Risk is not the enemy. Most people are taught to fear risk. Stay safe. Stay stable. Stay predictable. Don't rock the boat. But here's the truth that rarely gets spoken aloud. Playing it safe is one of the riskiest things you can do. Inflation steals your savings. Companies restructure. Jobs disappear. Industries shift. Opportunities move on. A life free of risk is a life free of growth, and anything that isn't growing is quietly shrinking. The key is not to eliminate risk. The key is to manage it. The hidden danger of stupid risks. On the opposite side are people who confuse bravery with recklessness. They jump into investments they don't understand. They quit jobs with no plan. They chase get-rich-quick schemes. They put every dollar into one hope. This isn't courage. This is gambling. Stupid risks look exciting in the moment until the consequences arrive. The wealthy take risks, but they're not reckless. Their courage is grounded in clarity. Their decisions are backed by understanding. Smart risks feel different. They're calm, not chaotic. Measured, not impulsive. Strategic, not emotional. The formula of smart risk. A smart risk has three elements. 1. You understand what you're doing if you can't explain an opportunity clearly. You're not ready to invest in it. Wealthy people spend more time learning an investment than most people spend deciding to jump into it. They read, they research, they ask questions, they understand the downside, not just the upside. 2. You can afford the loss. Never risk what you need. Risk what you can lose. Rent money, no. Emergency fund, no. Life savings, absolutely not. Smart risks use risk capital money that, if lost, would sting but not destroy you. 3. You limit the downside and expand the upside. You never bet everything on one move. You test small. You diversify. You build slowly. You structure your risk so that a loss is manageable, but a win could move your life forward significantly. This is how wealthy people approach opportunity. Protect the downside. Multiply the upside. Start small. Learn fast. A smart risk doesn't have to be big. In fact, smart risks often start tiny. Before you invest $10,000, invest $100. Before you quit your job, build a side income. Before you launch a business, test the idea. Before you expand your skills, learn the basics first. The goal is not to go all in. The goal is to build understanding and confidence through controlled exposure. Tiny risks taken repeatedly build enormous skill and intuition. Information turns risk into strategy. Risk feels scary when you don't know what you're doing. Risk feels empowering when you understand the rules of the game. That's why wealthy people read financial statements. They study markets. They ask experts. They analyze patterns. They look at numbers instead of only emotions. Information transforms risk from a blind leap into a calculated move. The more you learn, the less you fear, because fear lives in the unknown. Courage is not the absence of fear. Smart risk-taking isn't about being fearless. It's about being willing to feel fear without letting it control your decisions. Fear says, "What if I fail?" Wisdom says, "What if I prepare?" Fear says, "This could hurt me." Wisdom says, "I can limit the downside." Fear says, "Stay where you are." Wisdom says, "That's the riskiest place to be." Courage is the quiet confidence that you've done your homework, thought through the consequences, and are willing to move forward anyway. Smart risks compound over time, just like small habits add up. So do smart risks. The first risk teaches you something. The second risk makes you sharper. The third risk expands your capacity. Soon, you're navigating opportunities that would have terrified your past self. Smart risks expand your world. They open new income streams, new experiences, new relationships, new skills. They make you bolder, not recklessly bold, but intelligently bold. And intelligence is where wealth thrives. The most expensive risk of all. There's one risk far more destructive than failure, the risk of never trying anything. When you avoid all risks, you guarantee your current situation will never change. You stay in the same job, the same income, the same financial stress, the same limitations. Avoiding risk feels safe today, but it costs you everything tomorrow. The question that guides all smart risks before taking any risk. Wealthy people ask, "What's the worst that could happen, and can I handle it?" If the answer is yes, move forward. If the answer is no, rethink, adjust, or walk away. Smart risk takers don't gamble. They calculate, they prepare, they protect themselves, and then they step forward with calm confidence. a gentle reminder. You don't need to be daring to build wealth. You need to be thoughtful, strategic, prepared, willing to take controlled risks that stretch you without breaking you. Because wealth doesn't come from playing it safe, and it doesn't come from reckless leaps. It comes from smart courage, the kind that builds, protects, and expands your future one intelligent decision at a time. There is a ceiling above your income that most people never see. It's invisible, silent, and easy to ignore, yet it determines exactly how far you can go. That ceiling is your knowledge, not the degrees you earned, not the classes you took decades ago, not the information you memorized for tests. Your financial ceiling is shaped by what you know today, what you understand, what you can apply, and what you're willing to keep learning. This chapter is about the quiet rule the wealthy live by. The more you learn, the more you earn, and the more you unlearn, the more you grow. Because in a world that changes constantly, knowledge isn't something you collect once. It's something you update, refine, and rebuild for the rest of your life. The education that school never gave you. Most people stop learning the moment school ends. They think education is something that happens in classrooms and ends with a diploma. But school taught you many things, and almost none of them were about money. It didn't teach you how to invest. It didn't teach you how taxes work. It didn't teach you about debt, assets, value, or financial freedom. It didn't teach you how to negotiate, how to sell, how to build, or how to think independently. In fact, school taught you to memorize, not to understand, to follow instructions, not to question them, to obey the system, not to build your own. Wealthy people know this, and that's why their education never ends. They read books school never mentioned. They studied topics school never touched. They learn skills school never valued. They treat learning as a lifelong discipline, not a temporary chapter of life. Learning compounds like money. Knowledge compounds just like savings do. The more you learn, the easier it becomes to learn even more. One concept makes the next concept clearer. One skill makes the next skill easier. One insight flips on a light that illuminates an entire room. If you learn one new financial concept each week, you'll know more in 1 year than most people learn in a decade. And that knowledge shapes destiny. You make better decisions. You avoid expensive mistakes. You spot opportunities earlier. You negotiate with confidence. You build skills that raise your value. Most people aren't stuck because of lack of effort. They're stuck because of lack of information. The right knowledge removes obstacles you didn't even realize were there. Unlearning the skill that grows you faster than anything else. If learning is powerful, unlearning is transformative. Because a lot of what you were taught about money simply isn't true. Save everything. Debt is always bad. A job is the safest path. If you work hard, you'll be rewarded. Investing is risky. Rich people are lucky or greedy. You're not meant for more. These beliefs block financial growth far more than lack of intelligence ever will. Wealthy people update their beliefs constantly. They examine old assumptions. They challenge outdated thinking. They're willing to let go of ideas that no longer serve them. Unlearning is not forgetting. It's replacing old narratives with better ones. It's making room for new strategies, new mindsets, new possibilities. You cannot become wealthy with beliefs that were designed to keep you safe, small, and obedient. Relearning the cycle that keeps you evolving. Relearning means cycling back to what you think you know and understanding it at a deeper level. You may know a concept, but do you apply it? Do you embody it? Do you live by it? For example, you know compounding, but do you invest consistently? You know budgeting, but do you track your spending? You know that assets grow wealth. But do you buy more assets than liabilities? Relearning means returning to fundamentals and mastering them at a higher level of awareness. Wealthy people constantly refine their knowledge. What they understand at 25 becomes clearer at 35 and effortless at 45. Because they never stop returning to the basics. The world rewards those who learn faster. Industries change. Technologies shift. Opportunities evolve. Markets reinvent themselves. The people who adapt thrive. The people who resist fall behind. Your job is not just to work. Your job is to grow, and growth requires learning. The person who knows how to learn, not just what to learn, will always have an advantage. This is why the wealthy read more than they watch. They study more than they scroll. They invest in knowledge more than they invest in entertainment. They know that every book, every course, every mentor is a shortcut purchased with time instead of mistakes. Learning makes you valuable. Your income is tied to one thing above all: the value you bring to the marketplace. And value comes from knowledge and skill. If you want to double your income, don't work twice as hard. Learn skills that are worth twice as much. Learn how to sell. Learn how to negotiate. Learn how to communicate clearly. Learn money management. Learn investing. Learn how systems work. Learn psychology. Learn technology. Each skill stacks on top of the others, like layers in a structure that becomes stronger with every addition. Skills create leverage. Leverage creates wealth. The calm confidence of a lifelong learner. There's a quiet strength that comes from knowing I can learn anything I need to learn. Fear fades. Confusion dissolves. Obstacles shrink. Because knowledge gives you tools. Tools give you options. Options give you freedom. Most people aren't underpaid, they're underskilled. Not because they aren't capable, but because they stopped learning too soon. You don't need to be brilliant. You just need to stay curious. Your next step. Ask yourself, what skill, if I learned it this year, would change my financial life forever? Then start learning it. Read one page. Watch one lesson. Study one concept. Practice one exercise. Small daily learning creates lifelong abundance. Because information isn't just power, it's wealth. Disguised as understanding. There is a quiet truth about money that few people want to admit. Your environment shapes your financial destiny more than your effort does. Not because you're weak, not because you lack discipline, but because human beings are designed to mirror the people around them. Your circle becomes your standard. Your standard becomes your habits. Your habits become your identity, and your identity becomes your future. This is why wealthy people protect their environment with intention. They don't just choose friends, they choose influences, mindsets, and energy that elevate them. Because they understand one powerful rule of life. You rise or fall to the level of the people you spend the most time with. Your circle is a mirror. Listen closely to the people around you. What do they talk about? Do they complain or create? Do they blame or build? Do they discuss people or discuss ideas? Do they talk about problems or solutions? Do they speak in limits or in possibilities? Because whatever conversation you hear, the most slowly, becomes your internal voice. If everyone around you talks about scarcity, you begin to think scarcity. If everyone around you avoids risks, you begin to fear risks. If everyone around you spends impulsively, You begin to justify impulsive spending. If everyone around you accepts average, you begin to settle, not because you choose it, but because your mind adapts to belong. Humans are wired for connection, and that connection shapes everything. Identity is contagious. People think money is just math. It's not. It's psychology. It's identity. If you spend time with disciplined people, you will become more disciplined. If you spend time with ambitious people, you will think bigger. If you spend time with learners, you will learn more. If you spend time with people who manage money well, you will naturally manage money well too. Identity is contagious. This is why wealthy people surround themselves with others who are growing, not because they're elitist, but because they understand that energy flows between people like electricity. Sit next to a heater, and you get warmer. Sit next to a freezer, and you get colder. Your circle is either warming your life or freezing your potential. The danger of staying where you've outgrown. One of the biggest reasons people stay stuck is because they are afraid to outgrow their current environment. They fear being judged. They fear being misunderstood. They fear being called different, ambitious, or changed. But growth always looks like changing to the people who have stopped growing. If your circle gets uncomfortable when you evolve, it doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're stepping into a version of yourself that requires stronger influences. Staying small to keep others comfortable is the fastest way to sabotage your future. Your life expands when your environment expands. The wealthy don't wait for the right circle, they build it. Most people think successful people find great environments. They don't. They create them. They join communities. They seek mentors. They learn from people ahead of them. They ask better questions. They engage in better conversations. They invest in rooms where growth is normal. Wealthy people are intentional about who they surround themselves with. They don't drift into friendships. They cultivate them. They let go of the draining, the negative, the stagnant, and the limited, not with anger, not with superiority, but with clarity. Clarity that says, I can love you, but I cannot become you. Your environment is not just people. Your circle is more than your friends. It is everything that influences you, the content you consume, the voices you listen to, the books on your shelf, the habits of your household, the conversations you entertain, the places you go, the energy you allow into your space. Your environment is a system, a living ecosystem that either nourishes or drains your growth. If you want a wealthier life, change the ecosystem. Replace noise with knowledge. Replace gossip with growth. Replace distraction with direction. Replace chaos with calm habits. Replace fear-based voices with future-based voices. Small environmental upgrades create massive identity upgrades. The evolution of your future self. Think about the future version of you, the person you're becoming. If that person walked into the room right now, would they stay in your current circle? Would they feel supported, inspired, challenged, encouraged, expanded? Or would they feel drained, limited, held back, misunderstood? Out of place, your future self is shaped by your present circle. If you want a future filled with confidence, wealth, peace, and discipline, surround yourself with people who embody those qualities today. A gentle, honest reminder. You don't have to cut people off. You don't have to abandon your past. You don't have to change friendships harshly. You simply need to do one thing: spend more time in rooms that reflect your future, and less time in rooms that repeat your past. The shift can be gradual, soft, natural, but it must be intentional, because your environment is the soil and you are the tree. If the soil is poor, the tree will always struggle no matter how much effort it gives. Upgrade your soil and watch how fast your life grows. Most people misunderstand generosity. They think it's about giving money away, losing something, or sacrificing what they have. They think generosity belongs to the rich, or that you should wait until you have more before you give. But true generosity is not about money. It's about mindset. It's about energy. It's about how you move through the world. Generosity is one of the most powerful wealth principles, not because it decreases what you have, but because it expands who you are. Wealthy people understand this deeply. Generosity is not the act of giving, it is the state of living in abundance. Generosity starts in the mind, not the wallet. There are people with little money who are incredibly generous with their kindness, their time, their encouragement, their presence. And there are people with plenty of money who remain closed, guarded, and fearful. Generosity has nothing to do with how much you have. It has everything to do with how much you believe. When you believe the world is abundant, you naturally give. When you believe the world is scarce, you hold tightly, protectively, fearfully. Generosity reveals your money mindset more clearly than your bank account ever could. The scarcity trap. Scarcity says, I can't give what if I don't have enough. I need to protect every dollar. I can't help someone unless I'm perfectly secure. But here's the paradox. People who wait until they have enough to be generous never reach that point. Because the feeling of not having enough never comes from lack of money. It comes from lack of trust. Scarcity creates fear. Fear creates tightness. Tightness blocks opportunities. And blocked opportunities create more scarcity. The cycle feeds itself. Wealthy people break this cycle with one decision: to be generous now. Not later, not recklessly, not naively, but generously in spirit. Generosity changes. Your energy. Generosity shifts something inside you. It opens your chest. It softens your voice. It expands your heart. It lifts your frequency. You feel lighter, freer, more grounded. You stop obsessing over what you lack and start appreciating what you have. Generosity signals to your nervous system, I have enough to share. I am not in danger. Life is safe. I am abundant. This inner signal transforms how you make decisions. You stop choosing out of fear and start choosing out of confidence. And confidence attracts opportunity in a way fear never can. Generosity is not losing, it's circulating. Money is not meant to be hoarded. Money is meant to move. When you spend, it moves. When you invest, it multiplies. When you give, it circulates. Circulation is the nature of all abundance: air, water, energy, love, money. Everything that flows becomes more. Everything that stays still eventually suffocates. Generosity puts you in alignment with the natural flow of abundance. When you open your hand to give, you create the space for something new to enter. Small acts with massive impact. Generosity isn't about grand gestures. Some of the most powerful forms of giving cost nothing. Listening deeply, encouraging someone who is struggling, sharing knowledge, teaching a skill, connecting two people, offering patience instead of frustration, offering understanding instead of judgment, being present instead of distracted. These acts might feel small, but their impact is enormous because generosity is about intention, not amount. What matters is the energy behind the act. Generosity strengthens your wealth, identity. Your habits shape your identity, and your identity shapes your behavior. When you practice generosity, even in small ways, you begin to see yourself as someone who has value to give. That self-image is gold. People who believe they have value create more, earn more, attract more, become more. Generosity reinforces the identity of someone who lives in abundance, not scarcity. And once your identity shifts, your actions naturally follow. You save better. You invest wiser. You make bolder decisions. You carry yourself with more calm confidence. Generosity doesn't just change what you give. It changes who you become. The wealthy give strategically. Not emotionally. Generosity doesn't mean giving blindly. It doesn't mean letting people take advantage of you. It doesn't mean giving to the point of depletion. Wealthy people give with clarity. They give in ways that strengthen, not weaken. They give with boundaries, with intention, with purpose. They give to causes aligned with their values, to opportunities that create real impact, to people who uplift themselves, to communities that grow, to knowledge that expands others, to investments that enrich future generations. Generosity isn't just kindness, it's leadership. Why generosity attracts opportunity? People trust generous souls. People want to collaborate with them. People open doors for them. People remember them. People feel safe around them. Generous people become magnets, not because they give money, but because they radiate a sense of abundance and security. Opportunities naturally flow toward those who uplift others. When you make others better, your life gets better too. That's not karma. That's psychology. That's influence. That's social capital. That's real wealth. A gentle reminder: generosity is not something you do when you become rich. It's something that helps you become rich in mindset, in relationships, in opportunities, in confidence, and eventually in money as well. You don't need to give big. You don't need to give publicly. You don't need to give constantly. You just need to give intentionally, because every act of generosity, small or large, tells the world and your subconscious, I am not afraid. I am not lacking. I am abundant, and I have enough to share. This is the wealth of generosity, a wealth that begins inside you long before it appears in your bank account. There comes a moment in every person's financial life when they realize something powerful, something uncomfortable, and something liberating all at once. No one is coming to save you. Not the government, not your boss, not your parents, not a winning lottery ticket, not a miracle, not luck, not a perfect opportunity. Your financial life changes when you change it. And that is not a burden, it is your greatest freedom. This chapter is about radical responsibility, the quiet, steady decision to own your financial story fully, your past, your present, and your future. Not with guilt, not with shame, not with self-blame, but with clarity, acceptance, and empowerment. Because the moment you take responsibility, your power returns to you. Responsibility is not blame. Many people avoid responsibility because they confuse it with blame. They think responsibility means saying, everything bad in my life is my fault. But blame looks backward. Responsibility looks forward. Blame punishes. Responsibility transforms. Blame closes your heart. Responsibility opens your future. You don't take responsibility because you caused every problem. You take responsibility because you are the only one who can change the outcome. Radical responsibility means this: I may not be responsible for what happened to me, but I am fully responsible for what I do next. And that mindset is where true wealth begins. The illusion of control versus Breshand. The power of ownership. Most people spend their lives trying to control things outside themselves. The economy, their boss, their partner, the cost of living, the actions of others. The opportunities they weren't given, the unfair breaks they experienced. But the world does not bend to our desires. Life is unpredictable, sometimes unfair, sometimes heavy. Trying to control what you cannot control drains your energy, blinds your vision, and stalls your progress. Wealthy people don't waste energy on what's outside their influence. They master the art of ownership. I can't control everything, but I can control how I respond. I can't change the past, but I can change the path forward. I can't choose all the circumstances, but I can choose my actions. This difference, tiny in words, enormous in impact, is why ownership leads to freedom, while control leads to exhaustion. Radical responsibility rewrites your financial identity, your identity around money, what you believe you deserve, what you believe is possible, what you believe you can become comes from your history, your environment, and your experiences. But your identity is not fixed. It's not permanent. It's not the truth. It's a story you've told yourself. Radical responsibility lets you rewrite that story. Maybe you grew up with very little. Maybe you were never taught financial skills. Maybe you've made mistakes with money. Maybe you invested badly, overspent, or trusted the wrong people. Maybe life hit you harder than it hit others. Acknowledging those truths is not weakness. It's strength. But acknowledging them is not the end. It is the beginning. Radical responsibility says, yes, this is where I started, but this is not where I will stay. Your past built you, but it does not have the right to define you. Shifting from victimhood to leadership. Victimhood is not a personality flaw. It's a survival response, a way the mind protects itself when life feels overwhelming or unfair. But staying in victimhood is like living in a locked cage with the door open. Radical responsibility gently guides you out of that cage. Not by force, not by pressure, not by shame, but by helping you realize that leadership, personal leadership, is a path anyone can walk. Leadership doesn't mean having it all together. It means being willing to take ownership of the next step, just one step. Leadership sounds like this: I choose to understand money instead of fearing it. I choose to build skills instead of waiting for luck. I choose to improve instead of making excuses. I choose to be honest with myself instead of hiding from reality. I choose to heal my relationship with money. These small declarations slowly shift your identity from passive to active, from powerless to powerful. Your financial life today is a reflection of thoughts yesterday. This is not judgment. This is awareness. Your financial habits, your attitude toward risk, your beliefs about money, your spending tendencies, your savings discipline, these were shaped by past moments, past teachings, past environment. When you accept this, you unlock something extraordinary. If your past shaped your present, then your present can shape your future. And that means you are never stuck, never hopeless, never too late. Radical responsibility turns every day into a new starting point. Clarity is your greatest tool. You cannot improve what you refuse to look at. This is why people avoid checking their bank balance, why they ignore debt letters, why they postpone planning, why they avoid accountability. Fear grows in the dark. Responsibility brings light. Wealth begins with awareness, knowing what you own, what you owe, what you earn, what you spend, and what you want. Clarity is not harsh. Clarity is oxygen. It gives your financial life room to breathe, room to grow, room to stabilize. When you see clearly, you choose clearly. Taking responsibility does not mean doing it alone. Many people resist responsibility because they think it means isolation. I have to fix everything myself. I can't ask for help. I must carry everything alone. But responsibility doesn't isolate you. It empowers you to seek support intelligently. You can learn from mentors. You can follow educators. You can seek guidance. You can join communities. You can use resources. You can ask for help without surrendering your autonomy. Radical responsibility is the commitment to lead your life, not the obligation to do it alone. Your turning point is a decision, not a miracle. There is a specific moment in every wealthy person's story, a moment of quiet courage where they decided, I am done repeating the same patterns. I am done letting my past dictate my future. I am done waiting. I am done avoiding. I am ready to own my life. That moment is the turning point. Not the first investment, not the first win, not the first breakthrough. The decision is what transforms everything. And you can make that decision today, right here, right now, in this chapter. Not with pressure, not with force, but with intention. A powerful, gentle reminder: radical responsibility is not harsh. It's healing, it's clarity, it's courage. It's choosing to step out of old patterns and into the version of yourself that is capable, calm, and in control. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to fix your entire life overnight. You only need to take ownership of the next step and the next step after that. Wealth is not built in a moment, but your identity, the identity of someone who can build wealth, is formed the moment you take responsibility. This is how you reclaim your story. This is how you rewrite your future. This is how financial freedom begins. Money is not just a financial tool. It's an emotional mirror. It reflects how you see yourself, how you value your time, how you protect your energy, and how confidently you speak your truth. Most people think wealth is built through strategy, saving, investing, earning. But the deeper truth is this: wealth is sustained through boundaries. Boundaries with people, boundaries with spending, boundaries with time, boundaries with yourself. And these boundaries don't come from harshness or coldness. They come from self-worth, the quiet belief that your energy, your time, and your money matter. This is the final rule of your wealth transformation. Your boundaries determine your abundance. Boundaries protect your financial energy. Money and energy are deeply connected. When your energy is drained, your decisions weaken. You say yes to things you should decline. You take on responsibilities that aren't yours. You tolerate situations that drain your power. You make purchases to cope with stress. You fall into patterns that sabotage progress. People think they have money problems, but many times they have energy problems. When your energy is scattered, your finances follow. When your energy is centered, your finances stabilize. Setting boundaries is how you protect that center. Boundaries are not walls. They are filters that decide what enters your life and what must stay out. The boundary of time, your most valuable currency. Money lost can be earned back. Time lost never returns. Yet most people spend their time casually as if it isn't the foundation of their entire life. They say yes automatically. They allow distractions to dictate their days. They give hours to people who don't value them. They fill their schedules with obligations instead of intentions. Wealthy people guard their time fiercely, not selfishly, but intentionally. They know every minute has value, and that how they spend their time today shapes who they become tomorrow. Setting time boundaries means learning to say, I can't commit to that right now. My plate is full at the moment. I need time to focus on my priorities. I choose rest over constant distraction. These statements aren't rude. They are honest. They are healthy. They are necessary. Time boundaries are the invisible architecture of a stable, productive, peaceful life. The boundary of your voice, saying what needs to be said. One of the biggest financial leaks in life is silence. The silence of not asking for what you deserve, not negotiating your worth, not expressing your needs, not speaking up when something feels wrong. Silence costs people promotions. It costs them opportunities. It costs them thousands of dollars in undervalued salaries. It costs them emotional peace. You cannot build wealth with a quiet voice and a loud fear. Wealthy people speak clearly and respectfully. They negotiate without guilt. They communicate boundaries without apology. They express their value without shrinking, not because they're confident from birth, but because they learned that your voice is part of your financial toolkit. If you can't use it, you can't rise. Speaking up doesn't mean being aggressive. It means being honest, direct, and grounded in your own worth. The boundary of self-worth, the foundation of all boundaries. Every financial decision you make, every investment, every purchase, every yes, every no comes from one place: how worthy you believe you are. If you don't believe you deserve stability, you'll tolerate chaos. If you don't believe you deserve respect, you'll accept disrespect. If you don't believe you deserve abundance, you'll self-sabotage whenever abundance approaches. Self-worth is not ego. It's not arrogance. It's not superiority. Self-worth is simply the quiet belief that I deserve a healthy life. I deserve peace. I deserve financial clarity. I deserve opportunities. I deserve freedom. When you believe that deeply, you begin making decisions that protect and honor your future, not just your comfort. Boundaries are a natural extension of self-worth. Money boundaries in practice. Here are gentle but powerful boundaries wealthy people use not as rules, but as reflections of self-respect. I don't buy to impress. I choose value over impulse. I don't let guilt guide my spending. I don't rescue people at the expense of my stability. I give, but not beyond my limits. I invest consistently, even when it feels slow. I don't enter financial agreements that make me uneasy. I protect my long-term future over short-term pleasure. These are not restrictions. They are protections. They protect your calm, your clarity, your direction, and your abundance. Boundaries build wealth because boundaries build you. Every boundary is a declaration. My time matters. My goals matter. My emotional health matters. My financial future matters. I matter. You cannot build wealth from a place of depletion. You build wealth from a place of alignment when your actions, your values, your energy, and your direction move together in harmony. Boundaries create that harmony. They keep you from being pulled in 1,000 directions. They keep you focused. They keep you grounded. They keep you aligned with the person you are becoming. Boundaries don't close your life. They shape it. A gentle, powerful reminder. Setting boundaries does not make you hard. It makes you whole. It does not make you selfish. It makes you stable. It does not push people away. It invites the right people closer. Your money needs boundaries. Your time needs boundaries. Your emotional life needs boundaries. Your future needs boundaries. Wealth is not only created by intelligence, skill, and opportunity, it is protected by the boundaries you set every day. And when you begin honoring your time, your energy, your voice, and your self-worth, you step into a different level of wealth, one that grows quietly, steadily, confidently, because it is built on a foundation that cannot be shaken. You take a slow breath and let everything you've just learned settle gently into your mind. Tonight, you didn't just listen to rules. You unlocked a new way of seeing money, a new way of understanding yourself, and a new way of imagining what your life can become. The truth is simple. Wealth isn't built in a moment. It grows quietly through clarity, responsibility, discipline, and intention. And by completing this journey, you've taken a step. Most people never take a step toward becoming the kind of person who creates wealth from the inside out. As you rest, let these principles echo softly within you. You are capable of change. You are worthy of abundance. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to build a future that feels calm, stable, and free. This video ends here, but your transformation doesn't. If this message brought you peace, clarity, or strength, I invite you to stay with us. Subscribe to Sleep Success Audiobook so you can continue learning, reflecting, healing, and evolving gently, consistently, and at your own pace. Like this video, if it spoke to your heart, leave a comment to share your insight or intention, and send this to someone who might need a voice of calm in their journey too. Every interaction helps this channel reach more people who are searching for the same clarity you found tonight. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing growth. Until our next audiobook, sleep deeply, rest peacefully, and keep moving toward the wealthiest version of your life.